Alright, campers 13 through 18. Since we are at this lovely campfire that my fellow co-counselor has given us, how about we do a little something different tonight? Yeah. Campfire, spooky, dark night. How about we do horror stories? It is not for little kids. Well, the stories I'm going to be telling you. You might want to wait it out. And probably get cozy, because you're going to need people for this. Let's start with a little story called Ghost Bro. It goes like this. My house was built in 1904. It is a single-family home, wood frame setting on a concrete block foundation. I have been living here for about 12 years. Of all the weird things that my siblings and me have seen or heard in this house, this one event is my favorite. This happened to my brother. About 10 years ago, my brother and his best friends had started a garage band playing mostly Spanish rock. Alternative rock music, but in Spanish. His friends could only get together on Sunday afternoons. They would practice into early evening, and they would usually call it quits by 8 p.m. This was the time I usually showed up and went to bed, 'cause I worked the graveyard shift. This happened in late fall, so the days were getting shorter. They had just finished a long session when they decided to head to someone else's house. My brother handed his car keys to his buddy so they could load up the equipment. Everyone had filed out of the basement, but the tricky part was that they needed to walk all the way to the back of the basement, up the back stairs, through the kitchen doorway, down the hall into the living room, and out into the front porch. Everyone was outside, sitting in my brother's truck, waiting for him. My brother was walking up the back stairs when he remembered that he had left his pancakes in a to-go container sitting on a speaker in the basement. He made the decision to go back. Now the basement is not clean, with full sight lines. There had been partitions made, and the boiler and main heating unit are right smack in the middle. So after my brother walks back, he is about to retrieve his food container, when out of the corner of his eye he sees it. It is a shadowy figure right at his peripheral vision. This feeling of dread and uneasiness washed over him. We had been taught that if you are in the presence of a spirit or a ghost, and you felt a bad vibe, to say quick a prayer or to curse at it. My brother chose the latter. He basically just told it, hey, fuck you, I don't have time for this shit. My brother started to walk to the back of the basement and briskly up the stairs, closing doors and turning off lights as he walks out. The last light switch is on the opposite side of the front door. Luckily, the door was open, and the light from the street lamp was flooding the living room with its amber light. My brother said he felt something at his back, but at no point did he turn around. As he flicked the last switch, the living room went dark, as did the rest of the house. As he stepped out, he pulled on the door, closing it behind him. Still holding his food container in one hand, he jogged down the few porch steps. He walked towards the front gate. Our house resides far from the main street, essentially having a large front yard, but no rear garage. As he closed the gap between himself and his friend laden truck, he kind of smiled and thought things over in his head. Mad at himself for spooking out when there was no reason, he climbed into the driver's side of the truck, putting on his seatbelt and getting ready to pull out of the parking spot directly in front of the house, when one of his friends asked, "Hey, wait, what about your brother? Isn't he coming with us?" My brother answered, "What do you mean? He went to work early tonight. He's already gone. Do you see his car anywhere?" The next question they asked, "So then who was walking behind you when you were leaving the house?" Oh, is that a little fear I see in your eyes? Camper number 3. Okay. Just asking. Well, then let's continue. This one is called The Whispers. This is a story I do not often tell. I promise sincerely that this has scarred me for life. And although I have looked into psychological explanations for what I heard and natural explanations for what occurred, they remain unsatisfactory. When I was a child, I was scared of the dark. I swore to my mother I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were not familiar, and so they scared me. It was not uncommon in the middle of the night for me to wake up and hear voices, whispers if you wish, as I would call them when asking my mom. She figured they were just bumps in the night and typical kids' nightmare material. I tried often to explain to her that it was more than that they sounded different from one another, the way people's voices so. On some nights, I would get so scared from these whispers that I would sleep in my mom's bed with her. It was an added bonus that the bathroom was directly outside of her bedroom door for my late night tinkles. I should add at this point that when walking into the hall to go to the bathroom, you would look directly down the stairs, and that would lead you into the living room on the first floor, as my mom's bedroom is on the second floor. On one such night around Christmas, I awoke and felt the need to relieve myself. I walked out from the door and distinctly heard the phrase, "Look." And to my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast upon the wall at the bottom of the stairs. The light had no source. It was by itself, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid, and it was only being a few days from Christmas, I knew what this light was. It was Santa. How else could he get into my house to know I was being a good boy? I was so excited. I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace after the second step as it began to creep off the wall and fade into the darkness in my living room. That's when I heard him. A very strong, masculine voice, different from the first, not at all like my father's. Not to say he isn't masculine, it was just distinctly different. It said, "Stop, right now, go back up those stairs." I listened, turned around, and what happened next, I'm not sure I would believe if someone had told me the same story. After reaching the top of the stairs, I heard a very loud crash that sent me running back to my mother's bed, where I jumped straight under the covers and stayed there the whole night. When we awoke the next morning, the poinsettia lights, little Christmas flower lights that glowed red, my mother had put on the railing down the stairs, were pulled straight down to the bottom of the stairs. Some broken from what seemed like a forceful tear, lying in a single pile. The dry sink in the living room had fallen from the wall. My mother could not explain it. My father was worried we had been the victims of a house invasion. My sister was crying. There was nothing missing. Nobody had broken in. There did not seem to be any reason this had happened. And then I saw it. And I kept quiet about it because I was so afraid that I could not force words out of my mouth. There, on the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up, were 3 indentations where the finish on the wood had been worn, almost as if in a forceful grip. Something down there had grabbed it and threw it down. That was what the bang was. I was mortified. After that day, I never heard a single voice again. I do not like to imagine what was waiting downstairs for me that night, if it was anything at all. But I can tell you that the reality was that something had physically acted upon 2 things in my house near the bottom of that stairwell. And after this, I had never heard another whisper again, which is sad because in some ways, I would have liked to thank that man, masculine energy, that had stopped me from going down those stairs. This happened when I was 7. I am 20 years old now. And because of this incident, I am still afraid of the dark, especially shadowy stairwells. Really, you're not scared yet. Really. Because I could have sworn for a second there you were shivering. Oh no, fine, I believe you. As long as you're fine with me continuing with the next story. Okay. This one is called The Crib Shadow. I was babysitting my niece once while I was staying at my brother's place, and they had the baby cam set up so I could see her on the little TV it came with. I was studying and started dozing off when I heard some whispering and realized it was coming from the monitor. I instantly thought it was some feedback or something, but when I looked at the TV, there was a dark shadow near my niece's crib. I had never been more terrified in my life, but the shadow was clearly there where it had not been before. I ran to my niece's room and looked around and saw nothing, but I took her the hell out of there. I went back to the TV and the shadow was clearly gone. I told my brother what happened, and he pulled me aside and told me not to mention it to my sister-in-law because she'll freak out. But that he had seen the same thing several times now, with the same whispering. They stayed in that house for about 4 more years, and when my niece was just learning how to speak, she would tell her mom about her special friend. To this day, it scares the shit out of me. When they moved out, my brother told me my niece had become inconsolably sad because she would miss her friend. Her mother would tell her she could bring him along, but all she would say was that he couldn't leave the house. We have never to this day told her about that damn shadow, and she apparently never saw it. So, oh, you guys want to go to sleep? Oh, did that one get you? Or was that one the last straw? Okay. No, I don't impose. You guys can go ahead and head off to sleep. I'll catch you guys in the morning. But don't forget, you are being